Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 66 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on June 15th, 2021. Had a break in there. Man, I wasn't here last week. Did you miss me? I didn't give you an episode last week. For that, I apologize. However, I was out in the field doing some experimental work, and I was unable to break away, really. So I was unable to break away to properly record this episode. So rather than make myself insane and try to shoehorn it in, compromise quality, stuff like that, I made the decision to postpone the episode. So it's okay. We're back in full swing, and boy, howdy, do we have a lot to talk about. So this might be a long one. we're gonna do our best. A lot has happened since we last spoke. There's post-sample machine guns, 338 Lapua Magnum, test programs kicking off. We got the dead air Nomad-Ti data was released. There's a lot of stuff, and so let's see how much we can get into today. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of the industry entities that has supported this effort over the past couple of years, Silencer Shop. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop, the most efficient and intelligent way to purchase silencers, probably. As a silencer consumer, they're not only my dealer of choice, but my infrastructure of choice. They've done a lot of cool stuff, man. I'm telling you what, the QR code on the Form 4 that minimizes the likelihood of errors in your paperwork with the ATF. Man, so many forms go across the examiner's desks that I'm telling you, like, they're going to make errors. And Silencer Shop has kind of forged ahead and made the processing a little more error-free. So it's just stuff like that. There's a reason they've grown. They continue to innovate. They have a network of nationwide dealers where silencers are legal. And you can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints, your photos electronically. You cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee every time you buy a silencer through them. So it's pretty cool, man. You don't pay any transfer fees. You don't have any paperwork errors. It's just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. And secondly, of course, this podcast is sponsored by PEW Science, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. You can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It is the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms, and it is, of course, based on true human sound perception. Okay, it's in Section 5 of the Silencer Sound Standard. The standards on the website there walks you through gunshot noise, sort of like Wikipedia, but let's be honest, it won't put you to sleep because it's about guns. And that's why you're listening to this, because you got it bad. There are 7 parts to the standard. They're all on pewscience.com for you to read. If you haven't seen it, it's fine. You really don't have to read it all if you don't want to. It's just there for your reference. You can skip to Section 5. If you haven't seen the suppression rating, it kind of defines the term for you so you understand what it is. Once you read Section 5, you'll be like, oh, that's what the suppression rating is? Like, yeah, dude. It's fine. It just lets you know how silencers stack up in comparison to one another with regard to the sound of the muzzle and the shooter's ear. If it's higher, that means it's gonna sound quieter to you. If it's lower, it's gonna sound louder, right? And it's tied directly to hearing safe dose limit as well. Okay, for the particular platforms on which the silencers are tested. All right, it's all there on the website. You're not gonna find it anywhere else. And then the 6th section of the standard, that's where the meat of it is. All the reviews there. Go check them out on pewscience.com. And there's a ranking section too. If you want to just go to the summary, say, Jay, I just want the bottom line up front. Give me a table. Well, go to section 7. There's a database tool. You can sort to your heart's content. And if you find something you like, you click on the review there. It'll take you to the review, and then it's no problem. Then you can dig in and be a data junkie. It is there for your perusal. Okay. And as always, if you are a manufacturer and you would like to use PEW Science for private testing and consulting services, maybe you say, man, I wish I knew the information about my silencer that Jay's showing here on the website. Say, I got you, fam. No problem. There's a form on the website with which you can submit that inquiry. Your contact information and all the test data we generate is an effort for you. It's all held in strict confidence, all client confidential, unless, of course, you want to release it, in which case we can do that. We can publish a public article for you if you would like to release your data to the world. No pressure. It's up to you. We've done it a few times so far. We're going to continue to do that. So some of our clients choose to have their stuff published. Some don't. It is up to you. And you can support this podcast, PEW Science, and our testing, of course, by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. Remember, PEW Science is run by grassroots support. The membership makes it happen. And if you don't want to contribute, that's fine. You can spread the word and give the podcast a good rating there on the old iTunes, if you're so inclined. And we can slowly normalize the proliferation of suppressed small arms to the general population. That is the goal. By increasing exposure to topics like we will discuss on today's episode, the hope is to normalize the topics. Through normalization comes adoption. Through education comes glory. I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, 5 topics today. We had 5 topics. First topic, Sound Signature Review 644, the Dead Air Nomad-Ti on Supersonic 308. Boy, howdy. We'll talk about that one. Topic 2, Poverty Pony post sample is all grown up. And therefore, so is the MK18 Mod A. That's what I'm calling it. Topic 3, large bore calibers, 338 Lapua Magnum specifically. Who even shoots this? I mean, honestly, who shoots 338 Lapua Magnum? Because, frankly, I want to know. I mean, I know some of you do, but it's not normal, because apparently a lot of you do shoot it. So we'll talk about that. That's coming. Topic 4, new sound signature review coming this week. So you're going to get some more data this week, some technical analysis and conclusions that may blow your mind. It may. And topic 5, as always, welcome to all the new PEW Science members. Grassroots support is how we succeed. Okay. Let's get into topic numero uno here. Number 1, a time of 7 minutes, 34 seconds. All right, kind of sped that up a little bit. I'm trying to go faster in the beginning here. I get caught up in those ads. It's dumb. Okay. Topic 1. Yeah, a lot to talk about here. Sound Signature Review 644. The Dead Air Nomad-Ti and Supersonic 308. Oh my God. I bet you didn't think I was going to hit you with Nomad-Ti data so fast after the Nomad-30 first gen, did you? Or maybe you did. I don't know. I don't know what you expected, but I didn't want to leave you hanging because I feel like it's a package deal. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you need to know about both of those silencers. Now, I wanted to round out the performance bounds of this silencer's design envelope in the supersonic flow regime. Okay, it's very important for us to characterize it and understand it and how it works. That's the whole point of PEW Science, to advance the state of practice by understanding how the silencers work, okay? So, excuse me. At first I was thinking of doing both silencers together in one article, okay? But given the interesting differences in the sound signatures and behaviors of the 2 silencers that you saw, if you have read through this review, by this time, hopefully you've had a chance to check out review 644 on the website. If not, I encourage you to do so. If you haven't, that's fine. I'm going to walk through it on the podcast, but I think it's a good idea for you to at least check out the figures. If you've seen the review, you'll know, like, oh, I see why he did 2 of them. Because there's just too many differences just to do one. Okay? So the bottom line up front is that the suppression rating of the Nomad-Ti on this Supersonic 308 host weapon platform is higher than that of the first-gen steel Nomad-30. Okay, it's quieter. The Nomad-Ti, the latest iteration of the Nomad, is quieter than the original Nomad-30 was. So if you bought a Nomad-30 back when Dead Air was having BPI make these things, Bergara, the guys who make the Bergara rifles, they also made these silencers. I think there was the same company, BPI Manufacturing. I don't know exactly how all that works, but back when they were making them, they were different early on, and they're going to sound different than the new Nomads are. Okay, that's the bottom line up front. The Nomad-Ti is more advanced. How similar is the Nomad-Ti to the brand new Nomad-30 steel versions? I'm told it's pretty similar, but I don't know exactly. You'd have to ask Dead Air, because I haven't tested a brand new steel Nomad-30, and I don't even know if I'm going to, frankly. Eventually maybe I would, but I don't have time. I feel like we've done this enough justice. So we have a performance envelope, right? So we have the lower bound performance is the original Nomad-30, and then we have the Nomad-Ti, which we know is the newest. So in between those two data points is going to be your answer, no matter what Nomad-30 you have. Got it? So I felt like that was an efficient way to do this. We've bounded the performance envelope. The bounds aren't super far away from each other, but they're far enough to create an actual bounds that's meaningful. Does that make sense? Okay, so right away, a super interesting phenomenon that you will notice is that the peak sound pressure of the Nomad-Ti at the muzzle is on average higher than what was occurring with the original Nomad-30, but the impulse is lower. You feel me? So it's weird, right? So like members also see what the ear data does too. So it's very interesting. It's, the members see the raw ear data, so you can look at that too. Now, the suppression rating went from 37.6 to 41.5. Okay, not a huge jump, but definitely a jump you can hear when you shoot the silencers on this platform. You can tell the difference between the two silencers. You can. That's a 37.0 suppression rating at the ear for the steel Nomad-30, the original one, and then 41.3 at the ear for the Nomad-Ti. The Nomad-30, okay, the original one, is sitting down with the Hyperion K and the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2 at the ear on this gun. And, basically, around Silencer Co. Omega levels. And then the Nomad-Ti jumps up to hit levels that the Q Thunder Chicken and the Sandman Ti are hitting. So it's kind of a jump, right? You're like, wow, they improved the Nomad so much that it's now punching up to the quieter, to the larger, quieter silencers like the Thunder Chicken and Sandman Ti. So that's interesting, right? Because it's still the same size as the original Nomad-30. Very interesting. So again, and this is and stick with me here, because this is the pay dirt, and you've heard me say this before. This is again an absolutely excellent example of why single peak dB numbers alone for silencer testing are absolutely worthless to you. If you only looked at single peak dB for the Nomad, even when sampling at a megahertz, like PEW Science is sampling, you would say that the Nomad-Ti is louder from the data. Okay? The old Nomad-30 does, in fact, have a higher suppression rating at the muzzle, but that's only because of shot 5 in the Nomad-Ti test. Okay, this is a technicality that I put this in the review. I don't know how many of you caught it, but this is important. So what happened was there was a flow anomaly that occurred in the Nomad-Ti test. So in the Nomad-Ti review, I talk about this. I put a PEW Science research note in the article in which I discussed that something went wonky in the muzzle signature of shot 5 during the Nomad-Ti test. But I looked at the waveforms really closely, and the wonkiness, that's a scientific term, the wonkiness is due to the silencer behavior, not the ammunition. You feel me? So there's extremely consistent like leading and tail ends of the waveform history in the shot, like in shot 5. It's actually scary consistent with the other shots, which means the only explanation is the silencer. Okay, so like the ammunition's doing what the ammunition's doing. It's just like the other shots. Now, if it were ammunition or placement of the silencer during the testing, for example, like if I had it, maybe I put it in the wrong place, or there was a hot round or a weak round or something, you would see it elsewhere in the data, but you don't. You don't. So taking that shot away, if you took out shot 5 of the test, well, you would have a muzzle suppression rating that would be higher than the Nomad-Ti, just like the ear rating is. Okay. So again, therefore, you're looking at a textbook case of single peak dB meaning absolutely nothing. Talking about the muzzle, and then looking at the ear, it's even more of a gap. I mean, and you don't even have to discount shot 5 to see it, because the shot 5 flow anomaly wasn't even realized in the suppression rating at the ear, because it was a localized phenomenon that didn't propagate far enough back. So, I mean, members can see how much higher the Nomad-Ti meters in peak dB at the shooter's ear than the Nomad-Ti. It meters higher. It has a higher peak dB, but it's quieter. But it's quieter at the ear. You see what I'm saying? So that's a really important thing for you to understand, because if you don't examine the actual waveforms and compute the suppression rating, the meter data will be completely useless to you. It just doesn't work. And, not only will it lie to you, like if you take a meter from any of these people on YouTube, I don't care who it is, pick somebody, and you test these silencers, you would end up telling people that Dead Air did worse with their new Nomad-Ti instead of better. That's what you would find. You would basically tell consumers the opposite conclusion to what is real. Are you following me? So you would actually be lying to the public, even if unintentionally, even if you don't mean to. You would be misleading the public, and therefore, I'm going to say this right now, even though it may sound controversial. I am of the opinion that publishing single peak dB test results for the public is irresponsible. It's irresponsible. You are misrepresenting product performance, and it's a disservice to manufacturers. It's a disservice to dealers, distributors, and it's a disservice to consumers. So by continuing to publish data like that without telling consumers it means nothing because their ears interpret waveforms holistically, you're being irresponsible. So I don't know who needs to hear this out there that's listening to this, but this right now, the Nomad-Ti and the Nomad-Ti, this is a real world example of a new product, improvements, knowing. People know it sounds better than the old one. They know it does. It's verified. The suppression rating verifies it. Your ears verify it when you shoot it. This is a real world example that the original Nomad-Ti will meter lower, because people aren't looking at all the waveform parameters because they don't know what they're doing. Okay, so this is real world. So imagine telling someone that the Nomad-Ti was louder than the original Nomad, even though the original Nomad sounds like an Omega and the Nomad-Ti sounds like a Thunder Chicken to the shooter. Could you imagine that? Like, Dead Air knocked it out of the park with this tiny silencer. And there are folks out there who, if they test it, will publish meaningless results about it. And that's troubling. Okay? And this should worry you. You should be concerned about this. Because, okay, think about it. Think about the debacle with Silencer Co. and the Harvester and their anchor brake. Like, they figured out how to make it removable with their Omega, right? Like, they were like, oh, maybe we should, make it removable. Didn't they? They're like, oh, crap, well, maybe we should let people take that off. Well, I wonder why. I wonder why they didn't do that at first. Well, if you test with only single peak dB results, you're not getting meaningful data, so they didn't know what they're doing. Okay? So manufacturers make the mistake too. Okay? So Dead Air has some very experienced guys there. McGee and Pappas, they're listening to these silencers when they're making them. Okay? They knew the Nomad-Ti was quieter. They knew it. They absolutely knew it. Why did they know it? They could hear it. They've been in the game a while. They know what they're doing. Well, guess what? The suppression rating shows it. So how about them apples? All right. I mean, I don't even know what proof you need more than that. The data's there. It's crazy. Okay, so I beat this dead horse. I understand that I'm repeating myself, and I've said this before. But this it couldn't be any more topical. Okay? So this is the suppression rating is literally saving the silencer industry one test at a time. Okay? So let's look at these crazy waveforms, and let's see what the heck Mr. Todd McGee at Dead Air did with the silencer, okay? Let's look at them, okay? Okay. I'm going to pull up the review. All right, scroll down here. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about the shape of the impulse waveforms, okay? Because it's weird. So let's look at the muzzle waveforms, since everyone listening can see those in the public review. If you're a PEW Science member, you're going to want to look at the ear waveforms, ear waveform comparisons in this review too, okay? Because it shows you some crazy first round pop differences and stuff. So you're really going to want to check that out. Now, I actually did a whole subsection in this review comparing the first gen Nomad-Ti to the Nomad-Ti. Okay, so if you scroll, I'm gonna go in the review here. I'm gonna scroll all the way down, past the forest, past the trees, to figure 8. It's going to be in section 6.44.3. Okay, this is the Dead Air Nomad 31st Gen and Nomad-Ti comparisons. Okay, this is where I compare the two silencers, the older version and the new Nomad-Ti. Now, before I start talking about really complicated stuff, let's talk about impulse. Okay, Figure 8B. Figure 8B. Muzzle. This is impulse measured 1.0 meters left of the end cap. Okay, left of the muzzle from first round pop. Okay, both have a pretty fast rise time, right? We know this. We're used to seeing that. It makes sense. This is first round pop. First round pop oftentimes has faster rise time due to the oxygen supporting extra combustion within the silencer. We know this. It's studied. It's in every review. Fine. Par for the course. Not new. Got it. Now, when you look at the comparison of the previous generation and the Nomad-Ti, you see something weird. Okay? The Nomad-Ti has lower impulse, and it also seems to have faster decay. It's weird. So, what's causing that early time impulse decay? Why is it peaking and then jutting down so quickly? It's weird. Super weird, right? Okay, so let's take a step back. And you have to look at the pressure history. So we have to go back to figure 8A. We were just looking at figure 8B. Let's go back to figure 8A. Okay, so immediately there's something to see that I'm actually extremely proud of this part. So I'm actually very impressed with it, and that's the internal combustion in both silencers. PewSoft measures so quickly and accurately that we can see the sound waveforms of the combustion occurring inside the silencer before the bullet or any precursor flow has exited the silencer. Okay, the signature from the two silencers is literally on top of each other here. The Nomad-Ti has a little bit higher amplitude. It's a little bit louder, but the wall thickness is different. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Okay, and so it's just a touch louder when the gas hasn't exited yet. Just a touch. You would never be able to see this without me testing this, guys. This is not something you ever know. You wouldn't know. You would not know. I promise. This is people aren't doing this. They don't care. People don't care enough to do this. Okay, you are witnessing what happens when someone who cares also knows what they're doing. Okay, so look, you see the bullet exit. You see it. It's identical timing. Both silencers, bullet exit, identical timing. Makes sense, right? Because the silencers are exactly the same length. Okay, you with me so far? Cool. Okay, now, right after that happens, after that bullet leaves, different stuff starts to happen. It's super weird. It's not normal. Okay, the Nomad-Ti starts to exhibit rarefaction. Happens very quickly. Rarefaction happens when there's a particle velocity and density change in the flow field. Okay, as the waves are passing over the sensor, right? And you can think of them as pushing and pulling. They're pushing and pulling. They're pushing and pulling. When you get a lot of pulling, typically there's not enough momentum in front to push, and so you're changing density or particle velocity. Something is happening to the flow field over the microphone. Okay, that's what's happening. It's actually extremely complicated, but really we know the flow is changing. We know it. And that's the whole thing. That's the thrust of the PEW Science back pressure hypothesis and the omega metric, because we understand that something in the flow is changing when significant rarefaction occurs. We know this. Okay, it's correlated. Despite your interpretation of the physical phenomena that's occurring over the sensor, we know that significant rarefaction correlates or is coincident with flow change in the silencer. We know this. Like it is. And I mean, so whether or not it's a perfect like 1-for-1 or correlation, it doesn't matter. But we know there's something, and we know that these two silencers have a vastly different decays. Okay. So in first round pop, we get this huge decay. Huge. I mean, that's fine. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I saw it in first round pop. I was like, well, that's weird. I was like, well, that's really weird. Well, let's see if it happens after first round pop. After, I was like, well, maybe it's from the oxygen. I was like, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe there's like a different oxygen concentration. Maybe like the different, blast baffle position in the Nomad-Ti caused a different first round pop event, and we're dealing with like secondary effects from that. Maybe it's the blast chamber. I don't know. I was just like, as I was going through this, I was like, that's interesting. But I was like, well, let's look at the other waveforms then. You know what I'm saying? So take a look at figure 9. There's figure 9A, figure 9B. All right? Figure 9. Same as figure 8, same stuff. Same thing. Same thing I showed you for first round pop, but this time it's for shot 2. Okay, so it's the next shot. The oxygen's gone. We're free flowing silencer time. Okay. Now this is interesting. Same internal combustion, same bullet exit, blah blah blah. Like you see that early time, you're like, whoa, Jay, it looks the same. It's like, I know it looks the same because it is the same. It's literally internal combustion from the precursor flow and the muzzle blast and bullet entering the silencer, which is going to be identical to first round pop almost. And so it should be therefore identical between the two silencer versions, which it is, and shows it that it is. But the same Nomad-Ti rarefaction events happen early again. Okay, and now we can really look at the impulse in figure 9B cleanly because all the pesky oxygen is gone. Okay, we no longer have to worry about that extra combustion. So now when we look at the impulse waveforms, we're like, okay, now is the difference we saw before real? Or was it a byproduct of extra combustion? So what's happening now? Well, you get early rarefaction again in the Nomad-Ti, and you see a more pronounced dip in impulse early on. But then you get aggressive rarefaction, and it's almost like, and I guess it does, not almost, but it does. You get a stalling of the positive phase. Like the gas jetted out, and then stuff just slows down, and it kind of sits there, and it's like, yeah, I'm jetting. And then it just sits there. And it's like it stagnates. Like look at figure 9B. Early time impulse spike, expedient decay, followed by a plateau. Super weird. Bizarre. You almost never see it happen, frankly. I mean, in these reviews so far, you almost never see it happen. The only time we've seen it, the only time you've seen it in the review so far is in the Griffin Explorer EX3 test, right? Remember? I mentioned that in this review, actually, in this Nomad-Ti review, I do reference the Griffin one a couple of times, and that throwback, because I remember seeing that in the Griffin data and me being like, what is going on here? What's going on? Super weird. It's like, that's weird. So what caused it in the Griffin test? Well, in the Griffin test, in the Griffin Explorer, it's a small silencer, but it has a thing that Griffin calls EcoFlow baffles, which is, it's basically what they've done is they've cut a rectangular hole notch thing in like every single baffle near the borehole. So like you have a bunch of freaking hole. You have a huge flow area close to the center axis of the silencer. Okay. So the flow area through each baffle is like super big, super big. It's off axis, but if you took all the flow area and added it up in each baffle and then looked at its proximity to the borderline, you would get a number that's like relatively high. Okay, especially for a silencer that small. Okay, so what does the Explorer EX3 do? Well, it flows really, really fast and has pretty low back pressure, but due to the way the ports are made, that impulse plateau after that little peak in the Griffin test, that impulse plateau is like fraught with crazy oscillations. Like serious oscillations. It's like wow, 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 wow. Like especially at the ear, it's like super damaging. It's like, I mean, the Griffin silencer is super loud to the shooter because of that. And it's nothing that, I don't even think Griffin knew what happened when they made it. I don't even know if they listened to it. I don't know how they tested it, how they evaluated it. But what the data shows about that silencer is it's super unpleasant to listen to if you're the shooter on a bolt gun, and it's not good for you. It's not good for your ears. And that's because of the way it flows. Now, the Nomad-Ti, in contrast, has a very similar plateau, but it's a lot flatter. Okay, a lot flatter. Not as erratic. This actually makes it such that it sounds way, way more pleasing. Way more pleasing to your ear. So what the heck is causing the Nomad-Ti plateau in the impulse waveforms? Like, it's not venting straight through like the Griffin Explorer. It's not. So what's it doing? Well, it's definitely redirecting gas. It's increasing mass flow rate. But how? How? Okay, so Todd from Dead Air, excuse me, get some water here. I feel like I'm going a mile a minute, but I know we have a lot to cover, so I'm not trying to rush, but I'm going fast. Okay, so Todd from Dead Air, to Mr. Todd, powerful Todd McGee. Todd McGee designed the silencer. I've known Todd for a long time. He has a theory. He shared his theory with me. Let's talk about it. His theory is that you are venting gas through ports into the coaxial part of each baffle. Okay, and if you don't recall the discussion we had about the Nomad-Ti, these are the dog's whining. Hey, I'll let you out in a second. You're good. The dog is restless. Sorry. Now, if you remember the Nomad-Ti, it's basically the Nomad, the Hyperion, all this stuff. It's basically like super complex coaxial omega baffles with tweaks. Like there's only so much different things you can do in a silencer. Now, the Hyperion is highly advanced, and there's a lot of stuff going on in it. The Nomad is similar to the Hyperion. It's a little bit less advanced in some ways, and it's more advanced in other ways. It's different. Okay, they're not. So I think the Nomad copies some of the Hyperion personally. I don't think it's a huge deal. I think they're different products. I think that the stuff that you copy from the Hyperion to the Nomad is not going to help you as much as some of the other stuff that it's not copied. I think but basically what I'm trying to say in a I'm kind of beating around the bush. Big picture, I'm saying the Nomad, the Hyperion, and the Omega baffle, not the silencer co-Omega, but the true Omega baffle, they're all porting gas to an exterior portion of the silencer. Whether that's a continuous outer annulus like in the Hyperion, whether that is a localized baffle coaxial chamber in an Omega or Nomad, it doesn't matter. Gas flow principles are the same. High pressure stagnation relief principles are the same. bottom line. Man, it is thundering. Dang, man. That's maybe why the dog was whining. He's like, I got to go to the bathroom now, Jay. So, Todd's theory, and to be frank and clear, Todd really optimizes designs. He really does. His theory is that you're venting gas through the ports into the coaxial part of each baffle. The coaxial chamber I'm talking about, because the Nomad has one in each baffle. And then the stack allows the gas to vent from the coaxial part back into the main section. Okay? So somehow he's able to impede the reverse, what he calls reverse flow. He lost me on that one. I think Todd and I need to have some drinks and talk about this, but I think of it a little differently, because I think of back pressure more as a flow restriction in the system. I think he's probably correct that the gas porting is what's doing the impulse dump. I think that's what it is, but I think what's happening is that he's simply giving the gas somewhere to go continuously so it doesn't pile up after getting trapped. It gets recycled again and again and again, and this recycling is allowing flow to continue. It's shuttling paths. I think it's using pressure differential to its advantage to pump gas through a train. We know that coaxial vented designs work well for supersonic flow because they reduce the stagnation. I think with the short Nomad-Ti, what's happening is it's not only that stagnation is reduced, it's that the waste gas actually vents really quickly after making room for stagnation relief. And it's forming a gas train through the silencer. So the Nomad-Ti is running a train inside. It's chugga go. It's like vent dump, vent dump, vent dump, vent dump, boom. It's like the ports seem to be sized just right. You see, because this doesn't work. This doesn't work just, you think you're just going to make a 4-in-1 silencer to do this? You're not. You're not. Because it's like the stuff you're not looking at closely that makes the difference. You make one of those ports the wrong size, you put it in the wrong place, it's not going to work. And this is what happens with the CGS stuff. You try to duplicate Hyperion and don't get it just right, it's not going to work. Stuff's happening too quick. It's too sensitive. And that's why this type of silencer is hard to make. And that's why you only see this from really advanced silencer designers like Todd McGee and Josh Parker. Because it's funny. It's almost, and I'm going to say something, and I don't mean this as an insult. So I don't want anyone to take this out of context. But sometimes I think you have to not know what you're doing to look to do stuff like this. And what I mean by that, it's not that I don't think these silencer designers know what they're doing, but I think you have to have the propensity for free thought, meaning you don't know what you don't know, so you're free to go down paths that normal people would be like, that's not going to work. And you don't know enough to know that it's so hard, so you're just like, well, we're going to try this. And that's what I see in some of these silencer designs, because frankly, you wouldn't think that someone could do it. And they did it. You're like, well, of course that works. It's because XYZ. But the person doing it didn't even understand why it worked. I'm not going to say they got lucky, because it's more than luck. But it is serendipitous in a way. So I think we're onto something. I think we're seeing special stuff. We're seeing why the Nomad behaves differently than the Hyperion K, for example. We're seeing, or the Helios KD, we're seeing why they both behave differently than the Explorer or an Omega. We're seeing, it's just like we're getting these fingerprints. We're seeing the gas dynamics. It's just, this is valuable research, and it's helping the silencer designers. And so this is good. We're going to continue to do this. And the impulse stagnation, that plateau you see in the impulse chart, I'm calling it stagnation. It might be a bad word to say, because it's not really stagnation in the strict sense, but it's a waveform stagnation, which is meaning that change is either constant or not happening. Okay, so that phenomenon, that plateau, it's representing an interesting phenomenon. I think what it shows is that the flow ramps up fast, it dumps, and then the gas train's running, and then after 4 milliseconds, which is a long time, the impulse decay is pretty much the same as the first gen Nomad 30. Same late time decay rate and everything. It's almost like you send the gas into the silencer, it comes out really fast, and then it's like it starts to do something once it gets up to pressure. Like it takes a second for it to get up to pressure, and then it does something, and then once it's done, it's business as usual, and like you get the same history out of the silencer as you did before with the old silencer. It's like, what? And that's what I'm seeing for figure 9B. That's what figure 9B shows. It shows everything's the same, then something crazy happens, and everything's crazy for like 4 milliseconds, and then everything's back to normal. Isn't that weird? It's like you're literally seeing the flow difference between two different silencer designs in the same envelope. Two different silencer design refinements, one that sounds way quieter. And look how much energy difference there is. Look at if you look at the difference. Look at the black and the red curves. There's less impulse. There's less impulse in the red. The pressure is higher. The pressure is higher in the original in the Nomad-Ti, but it's not about pressure. It's not about peak dB. It's about the entire waveform and the trend for the 600th time. Okay. So what does this mean big picture big picture? What does this mean for the omega metric? Okay, one thing I think it may be highlighting is how back pressure or flow restriction or mass flow rate in a silencer is variable with time. Okay, and when I started thinking about this, I was pissed because like, oh no, it might be more complicated. I was like, oh god, what have I done? Because now when I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh god, what if it's not a continuum? It is a continuum. What if it's not a constant? What if there's different flow rates and flow rate variation within a silencer over time? So that's super weird. And what if it influences weapon operation differently? I was thinking about that. I was like, uh-oh. That's like we're adding other variables. I'm like, I don't want to add more variables. Stop it. That's why I tried to make the omega metric simple. First, I was like, let's just look at time. And then I was like, okay, fine, we'll look at rate. And now I'm like, oh my god, what if I have to look at duration? I'm like, oh crap. So I'm like, oh no, I don't know. So I'm tentative, but I'm not gonna update anything yet. But I'm watching stuff. I'm going to keep testing more to see if we lose correlation. But right now it's still correlating, but I'm like, it's weird. Like what if that happens with silencers like the Nomad or with the Explorer? I'm not sure. Like what if they ramp up and then they stop? What if they give you a super low back pressure and then they cut you off? What if they're like, okay, you can come out, oh, just kidding. And then like you get a different back pressure shooting full auto than you do semi-auto. Like crude, that's a crude way of saying that, but like what if that happens? Or like what if you get a way different back pressure with like 300 blackout supersonic than you do with 308 supersonic? That's not directly proportional to the pressure, but is proportional to the duration of the combustion because the case is bigger. Like what I'm saying is really it's somewhat abstract, but it's also concrete in that like we don't know some of this. So it's like, whoa, dude, what? And I think that's the reason. Like originally, that's why I had proposed different omega factors. Like we have an omega 762, omega 556, omega 300 blackout, like different omega factors because I knew that it may be determined by combustion duration. So I was like, well, probably need different omega factors. Let's just use 762 for now because we have the most data on it. So that's why I did that. But what I'm saying is, what if like it's even more complicated? So I don't know. For now, let's look at the back pressure metric omega and see what it says about the two Nomads so far. Let's see if it tracks with reality. That's what we can do. Let's go back to baseline. Okay, let's assume our crap's right. Let's go check it out. So if you scroll back up, I'm going all over the place in this review, but it's important. So if you scroll all the way back up to figure 7, the famed figure 7, the one that's really, really big, this one was big. I was like, I'm going to put all kinds of silencers in this figure. So figure 7. The first gen Nomad 30, the steel one made by BPI, the one with the baffles all wonky, not put in the right alignment, and it's different, everything. It's first gen. It's a baby gen. It had an omega metric of 0.29. Omega 762 metric is 0.29. That's putting it in omega zone 5 with silencers like the short surge, the Silencer Co Omega, the Silencer Co Harvester, stuff like that, right? But the Nomad-Ti, with its aligned baffle notches, different blast chamber, different porting structure, it has the omega metric dropped to 0.19. It's like, whoa, that's weird. And that's putting it just outside omega zone 5 into omega zone 4. Okay, which is the realm of like the Trash Panda and like the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2. Okay. I mean, it's just barely. It's just like the Nomad-Ti just barely dropping into that zone, the arbitrary zone that I created. But it's getting close. It's getting close. And users will note that the Trash Panda does have less back pressure than the new Nomad 30. It does. So that makes sense. This tracking like this, it's kind of close. At least 0.19 to 0.16 looks close on this, but it should be viewed on log scale. I just couldn't, my plotting software wouldn't do log with, it wouldn't do log scale with linear scale for the other things. I couldn't figure out how to do that. So that's the only reason why, like the suppression rating on figure 7 is all shown on linear, but like the omega metric, it's also shown on a linear scale, but I don't want it to be. I would like it to be on a log scale, because that would show more difference. Because you got to know, like once you go down, the differences are actually bigger. Anyway, so that, I mean, it's logarithmic data. So yeah. So it's close to the Trash Panda, but it can't get that low. And frankly, I don't know who. I mean, okay, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I will say it's interesting where the Nomad-Ti falls, and it's showing you what you can do in the same silencer design envelope with porting. But what you can't do is what the Sam NS does. You can't do it. Dead Air said that. Dead Air said, they said the Nomad gets close to the back pressure of the Sam NS. I disagree. Because it's not according to the data. The Sam NS is down in Omega Zone 3, guys. I don't. And no one I know that has a Sam NS and a Nomad has said the Nomad is close to the Sam NS in back pressure, unless I'm missing something. Now, if you guys have some anecdotal data to share with me, you say, Jay, I have a Sam NS and a Nomad, and I can't tell the difference. But like, okay, please tell me about your host weapon. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your host weapon. Because what I see in the data is the Sam NS lets stuff out really quickly, and the Omega metric's really, really low. It's louder. So if you have experience to contradict the comparison between the Nomad-Ti and the Sam NS, please check at pewscience.com. But so far, users are telling me that the Trash Panda, the Nomad, that the Trash Panda has lower back pressure. Well, if a Trash Panda has lower back pressure than the Nomad, a Sam NS does. Sam NS has lower back pressure than the Trash Panda does. Okay, we know that. Everyone knows that. So what does this mean? What does this mean for users? What if we're talking about applications for gas guns, for example? Well, first of all, the Nomad-Ti is not intended for short barrel semi-auto, full auto. It's not, or at least heavy use in those cases. It's feather light, dude. You pick up a Nomad-Ti, you're gonna be like, whoa, that is a light silencer. It's made out of uncoated titanium. It's not gonna stand up to the abuse that the steel Nomad can take. Don't do it. You're not gonna be a happy camper. Or even like other titanium silencers, like the CGS Hyperion series, like those things, you don't break those. The Nomad-Ti, you're gonna break it for sure, dude. Like, don't think, oh, I'm just going to put this Nomad-Ti on my Mark 18. Yeah, that's where you'd be wrong. Don't do that. Don't do it. Because you're just going to have a bad time. It can work for a little bit, but you're literally burning the titanium away and eroding it and then setting it on fire. That's where the huge sparks are coming from. Like, there's no reason. There's nothing to protect it. I mean, I guess you could use a cherry bomb in a plan B, which would be smart, frankly. I mean, why do you think that Q uses a cherry bomb? You think it's for fun? No, it's because it's a cheap thing to make and it works. It protects their titanium silencers that are intended for subsonic 300 blackout. It's brilliant, actually, in its simplicity. You know, I think sometimes Q probably gets mad at me because I tell the truth, but I also say really great things about their products, which I think are actually pretty smart, pretty intelligently engineered products for what they do. I mean, I don't know. I'm an engineer. I know how their engineers think because, like, I think like them. And when I see how they make them, I'm like, yeah, that was smart. It's pretty economical. And it's a good silencer for what they needed to do. So, but the Nomad-Ti doesn't come with, I mean, it's on the direct thread mount, dude. If I was running a Nomad-Ti on a gas gun, bro, I would definitely use a cherry bomb or something else to diffuse that blast wave and try to knock down, you know, I don't know. Dead Air has some stuff too. I don't know if it's as good at diffusing as the cherry bomb is. I don't know how that Xeno mount works. I don't know. I haven't seen it, haven't used it, haven't tested it, haven't examined it. Don't know what the front looks like. Is it completely open? Don't know. I would definitely think about it. Get a plan B, paint it black. I don't know. Or maybe not. The Nomad-Ti is silver anyway. Getting plain colors. Man, it is coming down. I don't know if the rain is really loud right now to you guys, but it is coming. I'm looking out the window. Holy guacamole. We never get this much rain. It's weird. Grass needs it. So yeah. I should also say, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, I've seen some Nomad-Ti silencers come apart. But I've seen quite a few Dead Air silencers come apart. But from what I can see, you know, this is a really complicated issue, I think. Well, maybe it's not complicated, but it's a nuanced issue. From what I can see, it's due to the manufacturing. It seems like the laser welds aren't done properly, maybe, possibly, sometimes. Now, that's not a knock on the manufacturer. Now, you got to hear me out. Now, when you laser weld, it can be good. But it's very exact. It's a very exact process. And if you aren't really dialed in and you don't get the weld zone hot in absolute proper location, you're just not going to get a good weld. You're just not. And if you have a failure, it may occur at a stress discontinuity, which is often a weld joint. Frankly, weld joints are a great source for stress discontinuities in a silencer. I don't know the exact failure rate of these silencers. I don't. I don't think anyone. I'm not sure Dead Air knows. They might. I haven't really talked to them about that at length. I know that Dead Air is pushing out a lot of product with their manufacturing partners. Okay, the people that make the silencers for them. So it could be you're seeing a failure rate that's in line with the failure rates of other manufacturers. Okay, but because they're pushing so much product out, and there's more in the wild, well, you're going to see it more. That could be. I don't know. This is speculatory. Okay, now it's pure speculation, but I will say, anecdotally, I don't seem to see those types of failures very frequently from other major brands. Now, I've seen other major brand silencers fail, for sure. So, I don't know, man. I think you have to make a judgment call on this. I will say that Dead Air seems to be good about repairing broken stuff nowadays, at least. And so I think you're going to have to make that call when you, like, what are you comfortable with? What threshold are you comfortable with? Now, I think back to the implications for a gas gun, I think if you can dial in your gun, the Nomad 30 that's steel, it's going to give you a quieter shooting experience than the Salmon S because it's more advanced silencer for both super and subsonic flow. And I think I would recommend that one over a Nomad-Ti for 5.56, I think, for a gas gun. I just don't know why. I mean, Nomad-Ti is really light, but I just wouldn't use it on an AR-15 or an M16. Like, I don't know what you're trying to prove. I feel like you're going to be so limited in the firing schedule. I mean, you can probably shoot a magazine. What, you're going to have to let it cool off or something? I think Dead Air says that. I think they give you a guidance. I think that they've probably abused it, but knowing what I know, I just don't, it's not built for it, man. And I would hate for you to apply it to something that's going to break. Now, some silencers, like you get a Trash Panda or like a Thunder Chicken, right? Those are also titanium. They're a different type of titanium in a way. I mean, they're the same basic strength. The manufacturing process is different. But the Trash Panda and the Thunder Chicken, dude, those have blast diffusers. Those have 17.4 stainless, heat-treated cherry bomb muzzle brakes interfacing with the silencer, okay? That is helping. It takes a minute. I mean, you can break a Trash Panda and a Thunder Chicken on a 5.56 for sure, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder, I think. Have I done a durability test with those compared with the Nomad-Ti? Absolutely not. I don't know that anyone has. And if they have, they haven't published it. Okay? I think all of these titanium silencers we're talking about, except for like things like the Thunder Beast Dominus and like the CGS Hyperion stuff or Helios TI that's not out, like Hyperion K that is out, that's titanium. I think other than the purpose-built, really durable titanium stuff, I just don't even think it's worth arguing which is better. I just think it's not appropriate. And so when you talk about like Salmon, if you're a Dead Air fan and you're talking about, well, I want a Salmon S or a Nomad, I'm like, well, if you have a machine gun, all you do is mag dump all day long, Salmon S is probably, I mean, you got Stellite baffles, it's probably going to be like one of those bomb-proof scenarios. But if you want something quieter, more efficient, and durable enough, I think the steel Nomad 30 would probably be better than the Salmon S for you. I think Dead Air made their own products obsolete almost for the most of the market. That's what I think. I think they probably did with the Nomad. I think the Nomad's a better silencer than the Salmon is because the Salmon is old. It's an old technology. It reduces back pressure with a big old hole in the middle, and then it's basically a rugged silencer other than that with a different mount that's welded. And then the Nomad is, well, we just talked about the Nomad for a while. Way more advanced gas dynamics. It's quieter, it's lighter, and it has a modular rear end. Okay, so the Nomad's a new generation of silencer from the Salmon. They learned and they evolved. Now, I think if you're hunting and you want a Nomad, well, Nomad-Ti is awesome because it weighs nothing. And you're like, oh my God, is there even anything on my gun? I don't know. It's so light. It doesn't even make sense. So, you're not going to break it. Even if you hunt with an AR and like you're not mag dumping, the Nomad-Ti is probably fine. But when I think of stuff to put on like an AR, I think like I can't help but mag dump. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it means to like, oh, well, limited mag dump. Like, what does that even mean? Dude, as soon as a silencer goes on like one of my short barrel uppers, it's getting abused. Like, I don't know. I guess not everyone does that, but like I have a trigger problem. Okay. I like to shoot. So right now, due to the modularity of the rear end, the really high performance and the size envelope, I think the Nomad series is going to be gunning for pole position with some of the CGS stuff. And we're going to start to see coaxial designs continue to pull away from the competition in sound performance. Okay, simple as that. This is just objective fact. Now, with regard to accuracy, I can't speak much to that regarding the silencer. I really can't. But I will say the blast baffle is not symmetric. Whether or not that impacts accuracy, I don't know. But if you look at stuff from Q, from Thunder Beast, from CGS, those things seem to be pretty dang good in the accuracy department. And those are all symmetric blast baffle stuff. I don't know. I'm not saying that correlation implies causation, though. Because, you take a rugged silencer, those aren't symmetrical, and those things are pretty accurate in my experience. So, I don't know. Are they as accurate as the Q and the Thunder Beast and the CGS? I don't know. They're pretty good. So, is blast baffle symmetry, for dispersion of groups, is that everything? I don't know if it's everything. I think it's a factor. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think if you're looking at all this stuff from a precision standpoint, you may need to ask your buddies who've shot them, I think. I don't know. Perhaps there are no issues with repeatable point of impact shift and you're good to go. I can't speak to it in detail because I haven't tested the accuracy, but I can tell you that I did notice asymmetry. And I'm not sure it's ideal for accuracy, okay? I think time will tell as more accuracy reports are given, okay? So all in all, it's a lot. I think I spent an hour on this. All in all, I'm pleased to have brought you the data. There are more things to show you in the Nomad lineup with regard to the longer versions. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to those right now, but I'm getting to them. So you'll have to stay tuned for them, okay? They're coming. They're there. I might do some more testing too, just to do some stuff. There's a lot of stuff I need to do. So stay tuned for it. We're not done with Nomads, but you've gotten two reviews in a row. You've seen Nomad data, and I think you know all about it now. The Nomad 30 and the Nomad-Ti, all these Nomads, you understand what they're all about. You understand how they perform, how they fall into the market. It's undeniable. The marketing's done. The marketing from all these companies, and this was a copy of that, and this was that, and this is better. This is blah. This is all done. Doesn't matter anymore. Now you have the data. Okay. All right. Let's go into topic 2 at a time of 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 15 seconds. I knew I was going to spend a lot of time. I didn't know I was going to do an hour on that one. I'll make these other ones quick. No, not super quick though. Topic 2, Poverty Pony post sample all grown up, and therefore, so is the MK18 Mod A. That's right. You guys saw Mod A. What is this guy talking about? I'll tell you what I'm talking about. You guys saw me post a photo of my new post sample machine gun. I can't stop showing it off. I love it. It's Form 2, baby. Isn't that weird? It's all Form 2. It's what's a Form 2? It's a permission slip that you fill out just like a Form 1, except instead of paying the tax, you pay the tax in June every year for July for your SOT. And you don't pay $200 for each item. If you make below a certain amount of money in your SOT business, you pay $500 a year. You basically, you're paying for a gym membership a year to make machine guns in your living room is what you do. It's really not, there are people shrouded in mystery. I've seen things on the internet. I saw a dealer once. I think it was a guy in Capital Armory said, I think it was him. I don't know who at Capital Armory it was. He said on Reddit once, he said pre-samples, or he said, no. He said transferables make money, post-samples cost money. He said that, on his, he was saying from the standpoint of, investors that buy expensive transferable machine guns are making money because their assets are appreciating, whereas a post-sample machine gun, you have the cost of, you have business expense, inventory, bookkeeping, overhead, and you can't possibly make money from it because you can't sell it to a normal person that's not a dealer, an unlicensed individual, and therefore it's not appreciating, and it's just a commodity, as it were. is what I think his point was. And I would say that's fine, even if that's technically true with regard to the fact that post samples are not typically investments. I would say that that's irrelevant to a firearms enthusiast that wants machine guns. Because if you have a business idea and that business idea involves being a licensed SOT and you like guns, do it. And then you can make a machine gun. Like, I don't understand. It's so weird. Sometimes I get the feeling that everyone wants this to be like a good old boys club. And like, and people, and it's the same thing with the really expensive transferable collectors. A lot of those guys, like, they don't want the NFA to be abolished because then they'll lose their investments. It's like, dude, well, I'm sorry you put all your eggs in one basket of like an infringed right, and that's how you make your money. Like, I'm sorry. Like, bro, I have transferable machine guns, but if the NFA was repealed tomorrow, I would jump up and down, and I would shoot those transferables just as much as I shoot them now, because they're guns to me. The only reason I spent a lot of money on them is because I wanted machine guns. Are they investments? And did I use that to rationalize my erratic spending behavior? Absolutely, I used that to rationalize my spending behavior. I'm a gun addict. Why wouldn't I rationalize my behavior? But what I'm saying is, like, don't get it twisted. I still support the right for every person to own a machine gun without regulation. So I just don't get it. I don't think it should be an exclusive club. I think everyone should be able to mill out a receiver and drill a third hole in it and shoot a suppressed machine gun in their backyard, frankly. That's what I think. I think you should learn how the guns work. I think you should act responsibly with them and not shoot your neighbor in the head, being reckless. But I think you should have access to them. So anyway, I don't know why they said that. I see that. I don't know why that is. I don't know why people get so like, well, you don't want to be an SOT. It's too hard. It's too much money. Blah, blah. I'm like, dude, do you just not want competition because you sell guns? Like, bro, like, I don't sell silencers and I don't sell guns, but I can assure you that if I wanted to, I could do it. It's really not hard. It's not hard at all. Like, seriously, like, really. Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to sell something that everyone wants. Really? Relax, dude. Like, people get so elitist, and like, they're like, I'm not saying that like it's the easiest job on earth, but I don't like it when people discourage other people from getting into an industry because they want to control the market. I think everyone should be in it. I think everyone should do what they want to do. I think everyone should follow their dreams. So if you are listening to this and you're like, Jay, I'm not sure that I'm going to front 30 grand. I'd rather pay that 30 grand over the next 60 years of my life. I'd say, well, have I got a plan for you? Form your business plan, figure out what you want to do, apply to be a firearms manufacturer licensed by the federal government, and then pay your SOT. And then you too can make machine guns. Okay? So, showed a photo of that Anderson. Had an issue with the Hyperfire trigger. Not sure what's going on with it. I've been talking to Hyperfire to try to figure it out. Could be user error, frankly. Not sure. It's a weird trigger. Hadn't really used the Hyperfire before, so I'm trying to figure it out. So I put a mil-spec trigger in it, messing with it, but I was like, this is not what I want. So bought one of those super expensive Geisley Super Select Fire triggers, SSF, Super Select Fire. I put it in there. Two-stage trigger in semi-auto. It's two-stage, which is cool. In select fire, when you move the selector to auto, it's single stage. Well, that's cool. I kind of like it. I actually do like that. I do like the two stages. It's neat. Some of my high speed buddies, they told me, they said, "Hey, Jay," they said they've used the LaRue. Mark LaRue apparently has a full auto trigger that he makes. They say it's tougher than the Geisley. They say it won't break like the Geisley will break. I said, really? I thought that was interesting. These guys are dudes. They shoot people in the face. And they also told me the Knight's Armament trigger was good, the full auto trigger. I said, but to all this, I say, I'm pretty sure first. Okay, number one, I'm pretty sure Mark LaRue is not going to sell me his auto trigger. Like I'm pretty sure I asked that dude, and he looked at me like I was smoking crack. Second of all, couldn't find a Knight's Armament trigger. Okay, couldn't find one. So here we are. Okay, the gun. However, I will say the lower receiver, it does have a KAC trigger guard. Okay, that's right, Gucci, and Radiant Talon full auto ambi selector, also Gucci. Now I like that a lot. It is so smooth. That selector is smooth. I just flick it back and forth sometimes for the fun of it. Okay, that's what she said. Now that's a family show. So. The Mark 18 is now complete, and I'm gonna. You know what I should do? I'm gonna post a photo of it. I took a photo of it the other day. I'm gonna post a photo of it. I'm gonna call on this the Mark 18 Mod A for Anderson. That's right. I did take it out shooting. I needed to christen the post sample. You know, I was like, well, how good of a machinist am I? Did I machine the pocket correctly for the auto sear? Does it have enough throw? Is it going to function right? Is my third hole in the right place? Is it going to cycle correctly? I'm happy to report, as long as you remember to put the disconnector spring into a mil-spec full auto trigger group, it will in fact work. Man, I tell you what, have you ever forgotten to put the disconnector spring in you do a function test and you're like, this isn't working right. And then that happened to me and I was like, this should probably just be permanent full auto, shouldn't it? I was like, let me see. So instead of like actually fixing the issue before I fired the gun, I was like, no, I'm just going to shoot it. Let me see if that happens. Let me just see if it'll just be full auto permanently. And sure enough, I can unequivocally say if you take out the disconnector spring in a full auto gun, it's going to run full auto in both semi and full auto. So don't do that. You're gonna put it on semi and you're gonna be like, well, that's firing a lot of rounds. So anyway, I put the Geisley in there, put the disconnector spring, made sure the disconnector spring and the Geisley was in there correctly, and it's fine now. Now, I ran the gun. What did I do with that postie the other day? This has been a while. It's been a couple weeks now. I ran it with the 11.5-inch upper and the Surefire OBC. I ran it with the Mark 18 upper with the OBC, and then I ran the Mark 18 upper with the mil-spec bolt carrier group and H2 buffer, which is how a Mark 18 would be. And I used the Surefire SOCOM 556 RC2 because frankly I didn't feel like taking the flash hider off of the Mark 18. So that I put the Surefire flash hider on there. I was like, I don't feel like taking this off, so I'm just gonna run the Surefire silencer. What's really interesting about this, I thought this was interesting. The ejection pattern difference is super bizarre on the Mark 18 with mil-spec bolt carrier and H2 versus the OBC. It's weird. Like with the mil-spec bolt carrier group and the H2 buffer, I think it probably ejects. Where was it ejecting? It was like close to 3 o'clock. Maybe a little forward, maybe a little backward. It was around 3 o'clock or so, right? That's a 070 gas port, fixed gas block, H2 buffer, mil-spec bolt carrier group, Surefire SOCOM 556 RC2. Okay. And 3-prong flash hider. It's important, actually. With the OBC, Surefire OBC bolt carrier group with its proprietary buffer, the Mark 18 actually ejects at like 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So it ejects further forward, but with way less energy though. So it's ejecting more forward, but the bolt seems to be moving slower. It's weird. It's so weird. It's like, I think it's like the upper and the brass deflector compared with the Voltor MUR2. That brass deflector is a different shape on the 11.5-inch upper. It's not apples to apples ejection pattern situation. I think for optimum ejection, I would love to be able to adjust the gas on the Mark 18. I will say, but it's not gassy to the face though. See, that's weird. It's like, I will say that mag dumps with the mil-spec H2 and the Surefire, it didn't gas me out. So, I mean, like the smaller, or I guess it's newer somewhat, that 0.070 inch gas port on the Mark 18 upper, it seems to be prudent. The RC2 probably has lower back pressure for a 5.6 bore silencer. I think it does. Than other like 5.6 silencers. I think so. Let's keep it in mind. We're going to test it, but keep it in mind. Now, I need to try the Mark 18 with other silencers, which is of course slated for PEW Science testing. I'm trying to remember if I've shot at the upper at all. I think I did test it with some other silencer with the Helios QD. But I need to test it. I need to do testing. Now, I put an Aimpoint T2. Yeah, you like that? It's Gucci. Put an Aimpoint, brand new. Aimpoint T2 in a Reptilia mount on the Mark 18, because why not, right? It seemed like a good idea. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of this Reptilia mount. I don't know if the quality's there. Thought about getting a ScalarWorks one, but those guys kind of turned me off with their scope mount stuff. They treated me like I was an idiot. And I was like, dude, you have a design problem. And they like didn't want to entertain it. I'm like, guys, you have a design problem with your mount. Like, I'm sorry you don't believe me. Like, it's like, I'm telling you have a design problem. And they refused to acknowledge it. I was like, okay. So like, I know that their Aimpoint mount is probably fine because it has like no moving parts. Because like anyone can make an Aimpoint mount because it's literally just 4 screws and a clamp to a Picatinny. Like, it's not hard. It's not, scope mount's way different. So I thought about getting, I like the scalar. I like the way the scalar mount clamps to ScalarWorks mounts clamp to the Picatinny. I like that. I really do. So I thought to myself, maybe I'll get a ScalarWorks mount. But you know what? I was like, no, I'm going Reptilia. That's what I do. I don't have a skin in the game. It was at RSR. Like, I pulled up distributor. I was like, oh, okay, I need a mount for this Aimpoint. Okay, Reptilia's in stock. Black. I don't want a brown one. I'll get a black one. Boom. I got that. And then I was looking at this. I looked at the Mark 18 and the handguard. I was like, maybe I should have got a brown one. Looks nice. I'm like, man, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's Gucci though, man. The Mark. I also put some. I put them some Magpul. I like the steel Magpul sights that fold down. I had bought Daniel Defense fixed sights a long time ago, iron sights a long time ago. And while I like them, I'm like, I like it when I have my sights folded down. The Aimpoint's pretty reliable. I'm going to leave the sights folded down so they don't snag on stuff. That's cool. I like that. So I'm put those on there. It's nice. It's nice. It's good. It feels good. It feels good to have the Mark 18 upper completely ready for testing, and the post-sample PEW Science lower ready for all PEW Science testing efforts for this point forward, so I don't have to abuse my transferable for you degenerates. You degenerates are like, can you test this, and will you measure the rate of fire putting this on and that and this buffer? And I'm like, dude, that's my transferable. Let's not break that today, shall we? Let's build a post-sample. And if we break that, well, it's less painful for Jay. Okay. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about that. I'll post a picture of the rifle. I will say, shooting that at Mark 18, it's a fast gun. It's fast in a couple ways. One, cyclic rate is high because there's a carbine gas system, fixed gas port. It's not tuned, and like it has a silencer on it, so it's fast in that respect. Also, it's fast in that it's pointable and compact. So I was messing with it, and like, I think I said something to that effect on, like, you can drive the gun well. I said that on a Instagram story, and I had a couple people who agreed, which were the Grand Thumb Man, Mike. Grand Thumb Man agreed, and so did what's his face, Jimmy Bell of Texas Ordnance Depot, powerful Texas Ordnance Depot, PEW Science member dealer. Shout out to Jimmy Bell. So yeah. Yeah, Mark 18's cool. Like, I know it's not, like, mine's not tuned, but dude, it runs. It doesn't gas me out. Is the Surefire SOCOM silencer. I think it's louder. I think it's definitely louder than the CGS silencer. But boy, does it look pretty, and boy, is it work fine. You have hearing protection on. I mean, I think I can actually tell the difference with hearing protection on between the two silencers. So like, I think that Surefire needs to make quieter silencers probably, but we're going to test it, figure out how big the delta is. Make sure I give you some objective data for it. Okay. It's a cool silencer though. I like the mount. It's dope. Okay, let's move into topic 3. It's at a time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, 7 seconds. Okay, I'm going to pause this one moment. Okay, I just had to do some administrative things. Okay, topic. Wait, am I on topic 3 or topic 4? Oh my God, did I skip a topic? Jay, what have you done? Hold on. Okay, first was the sound signature review. Party pony. We should be at topic 3. Okay, we're on topic 3. Sorry, I'm like taking notes, and I'm all over the place, guys. I'm back in the game. Large bore calibers, 338 Lapua Magnum. I don't even know who even shoots this. Like, I posted about this. You guys came out of the woodwork about it. I didn't even think you guys shot 338 Lapua, but you do. And I didn't think I was going to start this so soon. I didn't think I was. But when a PEW Science member company sends you a Seiko TRG M10 338 Lapua rifle with a quick change barrel system and a couple of boxes of 300 grain ammo, you say to yourself, well, I guess we're testing 338 soon. I never even handled a rifle like this. Oh, no, that's not true. I did shoot 338 through an OSS a couple years ago. That should be on my account. There should be a picture of me doing that. But if anyone, you know what? While we're on the topic, if anyone listening has an SR break in 3/4 24 for the Thunder Beast 338 Ultra SR, if any of you have a break for that, a mount for that, let me know if I can buy it from you or borrow it. Okay, because I have a Thunder Beast silencer and I can test that because now I have a rifle for it. So if and I looked it up because I wanted to make sure I could. It says it's rated down to 16-inch 338 Lapua Magnum. And so I can test it on 20-inch and longer barrels because the 20-inch is what I have right now. I have a 20-inch 338 Lapua Magnum rifle. Excuse me. And so I'm thinking that 20-inch might be our standard 338 test host barrel because I feel like it's still reasonable but shorter than normal. Okay, so it will be a lower performance bound for the 338 silencers and give folks a good idea what to expect. Okay, I think it will be. Now, it should catch more of the market than like a 24-inch or a 26-inch, I think. That way, when folks are they're going to put these silencers on the 24-inch gun, their 26-inch guns, they'll know that the answers they get from PEW Science are going to be conservative. Because, doing a lot of testing with 338 is going to be hard because the ammo is it is not trivial, the expense of this ammo, okay? I think. And the weapon, it's just not we're not going to do every silencer and let's see what 28-inch barrel does and 26-inch barrel and 24-inch barrel. We have so many barrel lengths. It's let's do 20-inch, I think. I mean, I'm not set in stone, but let's say we do 20-inch. And we'll see where we hit. We are, okay? And talk about a good comparison with a 20-inch 308, right? I think that's cool. Not that you can use a lot of these silencers on that unless I maybe use a different barrel on this one. I don't have to see what threadings we can do, but when it comes to 338 Lapua Magnum testing, it's a big cartridge, and I've been learning a lot about it. So I can be prepared to properly characterize it. I want to make sure I understand it. And, we're moving into 5.56. We're continuing with 308 and 300 blackout, but 338 Lapua Magnum, it needs to be sprinkled in because big bore shooters are out there. And I tell you what, this 8.6 bandwagon, which is 8.6 millimeters, is similar to 0.338 inches. It's like the metric designation. this 8.6 bandwagon that people want to jump on, it's going to spawn some interesting things if it's a success, which it probably will be. So it's going to spawn some stuff, and we're going to get these 338 silencers, okay? So I'm not sure all the 338 silencers out there can take a 20-inch barrel. The pressures involved with it. I don't want to hold the other silencers back, so I think I may make the command decision to stick with 20 inches, and if a silencer can't take it, that silencer is going to have to wait. And we're just going to have to do that. And for the silencers that aren't officially rated for 20-inch 338 Lapua Magnum, I may contact the manufacturers, and if they respond to me, maybe they'll let me know if maybe a 5-round test is acceptable for a deviation from a 20-inch barrel, like or a 24-inch barrel, for example. Let's say, well, we're dealing with a higher pressure for your silencer. That's on a 4-inch shorter barrel, a 5-inch shorter barrel. We're not going to be abusing it. We're not putting it on some kind of crazy belt-fed weapon or anything. We're just doing a 5-round bolt-action rifle test. Is it okay? And if we can get that clearance from them, maybe we test it, and then we have a worst case sound signature for you. Okay. And then because when I posted this on social media in an Instagram story the other day, folks were super excited, and there's a lot of you out there who are interested in the cartridge, so we're going to do it. And several PEW Science clients are also interested in having the 338 silencers tested, so it's a go. We're going to do it. So buckle up. All right, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be way higher pressures than we're used to dealing with, I think. It's going to be interesting to see what the waveforms look like. It's going to be interesting to see what the waveform durations look like in particular. And actually, I'm kind of interested to see how the mil standard stacks up and if we need to modify some of it to deal with it. And there's some technical reasons why that might be true. So we'll figure it out. Okay. All right, so let's move into topic 4 at a time of 1 hour. 26 minutes and 32 seconds. Okay, new sound signature review coming this week. Technical analysis and conclusions that might blow your mind. Yeah. I was actually, it was interesting, and I talked to some folks about this. I was going to give you guys data on the Daniel Defense Wave silencer. It's a 3D printed 30 caliber silencer. It comes in direct thread and quick detach. I had planned on it. I tell you what, I spent the whole day Sunday looking at the data and I analyzed it, and I realized there were some anomalies due to the test sample I tested having a pre-existing end cap strike in it. And the silencer is 3D printed, so the way the end cap orifice is constructed, if you chip it out, if you hit it, if for some reason you have an alignment mistake, and the bullet hits the end cap orifice, what's going to happen is it's not going to. It might, if it's just going to graze it, it might deflect a little bit, but if it hits square on, it's going to chip out a big old chunk, and it has this kind of conical orifice, so it's going to take out a bunch of the geometry. Okay, so I saw that. I remember seeing it when I tested it. And after looking at the suppression rating I computed and everything, I don't think the sound signature was changed in a meaningful way from what I know about how the silencer sounds. So the suppression rating wasn't necessarily influenced in extreme fashion, but I do think that certain waveform parameters were influenced in a way. In such a way that it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable publishing the data, okay? So I said this publicly. I said it in an Instagram story. I tagged Daniel Defense in it. And I've been speaking with them. They responded to me the next day. We talked about it. They thanked me for, I guess they told me I took the high road. They appreciated it. And frankly, I don't want to take too much credit for that because frankly, one, I did it to protect both PEW Science and Daniel Defense. Okay, I'm just as concerned about PEW Science's reputation as I am about theirs. Is not just for them. I don't want to publish something that's wrong or misleading. Okay, so I said no problem. We talked. It was like, hey man, that's cool, no problem. They said they're going to try to get me a new unit to test. And they offered. I said, okay, you don't have to do that, but that's fine. And so they certainly don't have to. They have nothing to do with this testing. I didn't even get the original silencer from them. Okay, it was from a party that loans out demo silencers, and apparently their demo silencers get destroyed. So yeah, so they didn't have to do, but I think the social media guy there at Daniel Defense passed my information along to the higher ups, and they're gonna see what they can do. I make no promises, but I'm not gonna release data on the silencer until I test one that's not in disrepair. Okay, I want to make sure it's fair. I want to make sure that the results are correct and useful. But why not? I have a Mark 18 upper from them now. The Mark 18 upper that I bought from Charlie's Clones or whoever, those guys, that's a Daniel Defense thing. So maybe Daniel Defense is interested in R&D for that. I told them, they use Crane out of Indiana, but if you're listening, Daniel Defense, I can respond faster than Crane, and my testing is most likely more meaningful for sound signatures. So if you want the best, hit me up. You have my info. Okay, so so this week, instead of the Daniel Defense wave, you're going to get something else. Okay. It's going to be something you all want. Maybe? No, probably not. Absolutely not. But a lot of you want it, and it's important for the industry. It is. You bet your butt it is. So it's one of those reviews where you're going to learn a lot, and we're going to learn a lot together. So buckle up, hold on to your hats, and be ready to see some information that no one has ever shown you before, because we're doing that every single time. Okay? I think I'm going to be proud of this one. I think this is something to be proud of, and that, my friends, satisfaction of a job well done. Okay. All right. We're going to move into topic 5. The time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 58 seconds. I'm doing this in an hour and a half. How do you like them apples? I thought I was going to take longer, but welcome to new PEW Science members. Grassroots support is how we succeed. So thank you. We actually took on some new clients recently. I don't like to disclose the PEW Science clients during ongoing project work and until after, official public articles are posted and things like that. So, everything the PEW Science does with clients is client confidential until the client chooses to release their test data to the public. Once things are public, I speak about it. Okay, so until then, nothing. But suffice to say, the list of PEW Science consulting and testing clients is growing, and I owe that to everyone listening to this podcast and spreading the word. I am happy to grow the business. So long term, this will certainly benefit everyone, because with every step of growth, our capabilities get more potential to grow as well, and the type of data and the advancement seen by the industry grows. Okay, bit by bit. This is like building blocks. We're a little bit over a year in. It's growing, and I think it's the standard. Okay, and if it's not the standard for some folks, yet it will be. It most certainly will be. So the grassroots support from dealers and manufacturers, consumer members of PEW Science is fantastic. Okay, so shout out to all the new members. If I haven't personally reached out to you, I'm almost through with the list I have. I think I've almost got all of you. So I'll get to you soon if I haven't. So look out for an email. You may want to check your spam folders. I think a couple guys, because I usually ask folks how they find PEW Science, and sometimes people email me back. They're like, dude, thanks for sending this email. It was in my spam folder. I didn't even see it for the past 4 months. I was like, hey, man, that's cool. What's up? And we talk, and it's cool. So that's okay. Sometimes that happens. You gotta tell it it's not spam. I promise I won't spam you. Okay. So thanks for listening today, folks. I know I went through all this fast. It was a lot of information. I hope it was still informative to you and entertaining. And stay safe out there. Stay tuned this week for some more data. I think it's going to be good. I think you're going to like it. We're going to basically close a gap. There's a knowledge gap that you may not even know that is there. But we're going to circle back to it. We're going to publish something, and all will be made clear. Okay? All right. Stay tuned. I'll talk to you folks again soon. Bye.